do a double check because I was sure last. Oh, perfect. The recording's working. Fantastic. Whenever you're ready, Gurpreet.
Hi, good evening, guys. Just to confirm, my slide is visible.
It is, but it's got the next animation on the side as well. I don't know if you're wanting that, Gurpreet.
You're in presenter view.
Yeah.
Yes.
Mm.
Did you have some notes or something?
I do. I do have some notes. That's why I opened that.
Yes, understand. Look, it's absolutely fine. What you might want to do is get your cursor on the line between the screens and maybe just minimize it a little bit. That's it. Yeah. You minimize it a bit, then it's less, takes away from the main screen.
Thanks, Tom.
Okay, my topic for today is information processing. Okay, the definition of information processing is information processing theory is based on the idea that humans actively process the information they receive from their senses, and learning is what is happening when our brain receives information, recording, molding it, and then storing it. So the basic idea of information processing theory is that human mind is like a computer and the information processor. By the end of the session, outcome I am reaching out is for everyone is to understand how our mind process the information in terms of short-term and long-term memory. Before I jump on the presentation and theory part, I have a small activity which I would like to share. Just give me 1 second. So it's a rapid memory test. What I'm gonna do is I'm gonna just play this video, and a small set of pictures would come. And then at the end of those photos and the pictures, we will test our memory. So I would like everyone to please pay attention. So you need to memorize those pictures, and you'll be asked the questions at the end of the video. So are we ready? Cool. Okay. The first question is, one of the picture has seagulls in it. How many seagulls were there? Anyone?
3, maybe?
Yeah, I think it was 3.
Yeah, it was either 3 or 2.
Let's have a look.
Ooh.
Oh,
4. We were pretty close though.
It was flashing up that quickly.
Which side was the rooster looking? Right or left? Anyone?
Right. To the right, I'm going to say.
Yeah.
No, left.
Left.
What was your left of the screen?
Yes.
Everything's inversed.
Ah,
Oh.
that's the one I meant.
Yes.
The left?
Yes.
Which flower did we see?
Sunflower.
Sunflower.
Mm.
Spot on.
Red.
red,
Red
and yellow.
Red and yellow.
And red.
Oh yeah, it was a yellow one.
Red and yellow.
Yay.
Bling,
I know
Shoes.
21 to 2017.
Yeah,
Or-
but which object had dates written on it?
Oh,
And Sam has the detail of the dates. That'd be nice.
That's called
they're gonna ask
attention to
the date.
detail.
or 2071. Anyway, it was shoes.
Okay, the answer, shoes.
Shoes.
Duh. Okay, I was wrong. Pretty much with everything.
Licking itself.
It's poor.
Yeah, the cats I saw were trying to get on my keyboard, so I missed that
Licking
one.
its paws. Which musical instrument did we see?
Violin.
Violin, yeah.
Hmm. What was the color of the plate? Anyone?
Mate.
That was going to be my question too. Which
It's that
was
one.
Plate with the eggs on it.
Yeah,
Oh.
Oh,
Oh.
White,
White.
I guess.
right, yeah.
Eggs, but
white it is. Did you see this picture?
no.
Yes.
Saw an apple. I'm not sure if
Think
it's
I
that
did.
apple.
Yeah, I saw an apple.
We'll find out.
No.
oh,
Yes.
Oh,
So-
there you go.
Oh,
I thought it was that.
Katie was right. This is the actual picture we saw,
Yeah.
but this is what they were
Ah.
asking.
yes, right.
And anyone, how many pictures were there? I know they were super quick though.
11, I guess.
9.
10.
10.
Oh, I got it right.
Good guess.
Yeah, good guess. That's it.
Sorry, give me 1 second. I'm just going to share my screen once again. Okay, now that we have a slight, a better understanding of information processing, I have picked up a theory of Atkinson and Shiffrin. In 1968, the psychologist Richard Atkinson and Richard Shiffrin suggested on a model on how information is processed, explaining how information is lost, immediately, and how some information can be held briefly in our mind, and how the information can be kept for a lifetime as a long-term memory. They propose these theories into 3 stages, which is sensory memory, short-term memory, and a long-term memory. Sensory memory includes what we see, what we hear, and what we feel. They are subdivided into 3 different memories, which is iconic memory, echoic memory, and haptic memory. Iconic memory is basically we use our sense like seeing, our eyes, which is at a duration of half a second, which is extremely short, and which means that sensory memories, what we see, are stored in our sensory memory for half a second, which explains like how the series of screenshots which we see in a quick success, such as in movies. If we join those screenshots, our eyes can read that as a memory, as a movie. Echoic memory lasts for 3 to 5 seconds. In this, we use our sense like ear, which what it means is within a matter of 3 to 5 seconds, when we hear any question, we are still able to answer those questions using our auditory information. Again, then the haptic memory is basically using our touch and our feel senses. It lasts around 1 to 3 seconds. And the example of haptic memory is that when we are wearing sunglasses or hat, and after a short period of time, we totally, forget about that we're wearing a hat, or when we're wearing glasses as well. We sort of like, it goes really normal for us. The main purpose of sensory memory is to, screen incoming information and process only what is relevant at the present time. So in the model of Atkinson processing theory, what they show is if we don't pay any attention to our sensory memory, it is filtered out unconsciously from our memory store, our memory stores. So we can transfer our sensory memory to our working memory, or which is also called short-term memory, by paying a little bit more attention. So how it works basically is our short-term memory. How does it basically works? It lasts for 10 to 20 seconds. So if we are paying a little bit attention to our sensory memory, it can turn into a short-term or a working memory. So the capacity of our short-term memory is just between 7 to 9 items, or the numbers, what we can remember, and the duration lasts just for 5 to 15 seconds. Sometimes we do also need to remember the things for a longer time. So how it happens is, if we rehearse them, if by rehearsing those information, for example, when we were kids, we were taught to rehearse timetables. And if we rehearse those timetables, we keep on repeating them and, talking it loud, it can go from our short-term memory to our long-term memory. So how those rehearsals are done, according to Atkinson and Sheffield theory, by maintenance rehearsal and elaborative rehearsal. So what maintenance rehearsal is? Continuing repeating the information in your head. It's like the example I shared, like timetables. If we read it loud and we keep on repeating it, it kinds of like stays in our memory. However, if we don't rehearse those timetables when we were kids, we tend to forget them. Elaborative rehearsals is basically the informations which we know, and we are making a meaningful connection with with those memories. What I mean is, if we have some sort of information, and if we try to connect the dots, or if we try to connect with the information which we already know, it can stay longer in our mind. So just to recap, we have sensory memory. If we pay some attention to our sensory memory, it can be converted into working memory or a short-term memory. And once we are rehearsing those memory by maintaining an elaborative rehearsal, it can be changed into our long-term memory. And if the things which we don't give attention to, it can be it can be forgotten. Like, we can forget that. Our memory doesn't store that, or our brain is a very powerful tool. It doesn't store that in the memory section. So what long-term memory is basically, according to Atkinson theory, long-term memory both has virtually unlimited capacity, and unlimited duration. So which explains why we can remember things for a very long time. Virtually, like unlimited capacity means when we are encoding something, it doesn't mean that whatever is stored in our memory for a long time, it doesn't get erased. So it has like a big hard drive. And once the information is transferred to a long-term memory, it can be filed away indefinitely. So our memory is capable of relatively permanent storage. We probably remember the name of probably our primary school teacher, or the dress we were wearing on our wedding day, or any concert when we visited long time ago. So it is saved in our long-term memory if it's related to our our emotions and behaviors. So most researchers believe that long-term memory is capable of holding millions of pieces of information for a very long period of time. What our role as a trainers are basically to facilitate, the learning. What do you think? But the thing is, we have now know what our information processing is, but how relevant it is in current scenario, and is it still, basically is it still active? So science is not a perfect example of a big idea, because it is too vague. The theories of Atkinson was very vague as well. So it was not concrete, so there was no evidence. The big idea needs to be able to help learners make sense of a lot of information, that ideas be confusing to them, such as a theory or a strategy. A big idea, what I believe is, should push learners to think about information in a different way and challenges them to gain deeper understanding. And when it comes to our role as a trainer, how we can facilitate the learners, how we can incorporate the information processing in our training, what I believe is by presenting examples, asking questions, allowing students to take time to critically think, keeping learners active in their own learning, and providing them clues, but not to give them answers, but just to encourage them to think critically. All these, steps can help us as a trainer to facilitate the learning. That's all about my presentation. I hope I was able to convey the steps, about the processing, how our brain processes the memory. If you have any questions, please.
I don't so much have a question.